welcome to Video Digest. Today's video we are looking at DJ apps. But before we do, I'm going to show you the tablet I'm going to be using any DJ app on. This is the Lenovo 10.1 inch tablet. It has a 10-point touchscreen and a resolution of 1280 by 800 IPS captive screen. Also has Atmos Dolby digital sound, which sounds really good through headphones but not very good through the internal speakers. It has 2 GB of RAM and 6 GB of onboard storage, which is also expandable by up to 64 GB using an SD card. The model number is ZA1U0002GB and it cost me about £89, but most recommended prices are about £110, so it might be worth looking around to see if you can get a good deal. Now, to get on to DJ software apps. I looked around for about a week on the App Store for a decent app that would give me a good virtual DJ system experience. I must have tried at least 28 apps that all said that they were so-called pro DJ apps. On installing and finding out they were no good for the purpose, I nearly gave up and then came across this app called DiscDJ. Now this app ticked all the boxes. It's 3D and looks just like a set of real CD decks. It has beats per minute sync on both decks, manual tempo control, re-looping up to 16 samples, pitch bend up to 4 cues. It has bass, mid and treble controls for both decks, and pitch bend and a full graphic equalizer, 10 bands for each deck, a sample machine, an FX machine for special effects such as stretching, echo, that sort of thing, gain controls for each deck, a master volume, plus faders for each deck and a crossfader. Database is really well made and works really well. It's easy to find music and works from any CD card. So on a 64 GB card you can have a large database of music. You can plug a lead into your tablet and play out to a mixer or amp, and even split the decks for monitoring, but only plays out in mono and monitors on the other deck depending on which deck you're playing out. It has play, pause and stop buttons, so it has everything that a DJ would need to use it for a gig. But now for a live demo using copyright free music so as not to get in trouble with YouTube for a copyright infringement. So let's do this. Okay, we have the desktop in front of us, so now I'm going to just touch the icon for DiscDJ like now. It doesn't take long to start up, and there you go. Now at the moment both displays at the tops of the decks are showing null, which means they have no music file loaded onto the decks. There are a couple of views that you can see on the database itself. The right hand one that I'm touching now, an album shows you the album section. Now you've got tags across the top there. At the moment we're in search. We have songs, playlists, genres, composers, folders, which is what I tend to use because I've got all my files set up in folders, artists, it takes a little lot longer to load because there's a lot of artists in here, and albums. So if you like using them as albums, then that's great. When you first start it up, it's worth in the songs because it then searches through and searches all the songs. So now it knows the database. And if you wanted to search a song, So for instance, it's typing, say, Michael Jackson. There you go. As soon as you start typing, we'll start to bring it up. Touch the down tab to remove the keyboard, and there you go, you've got Michael Jackson's track. So it's very easy to search music, providing you've put it in your folders correctly. Lots of options. If you see the pips on the right hand side, there's like 3 pips for each track. Now if you tap on one of those, the folder will come up, and it gives you the option to either play and add to the queue. I'll explain about a little bit more about them in a minute. Or you can just play the track, or you can load the track onto a particular deck. Now on the left hand side you see the discs there. You've got 2 at the bottom, which means that's deck 2. The one above it is deck 1, and deck 1 and 2 at the top, which is highlighted in orange. You have play next, add to queue, add to playlist, artist, view album, view folder. You can share it, or you can even use it as a ringtone. So it gives you plenty of options. Decks are, as you see there, on the left hand side, and what you can do, you can pick a deck, say deck 2, and you can play and add to deck 2's queue. Actually, it will load all the tracks onto that deck. So what you can actually do is to be a bit careful here, because I don't want to get copyright flagged, and in this section of the browser it gives you the option of listening to each track before you actually load it. So what I'm going to do to save getting flagged, I'm going to move out of here. I'm going to come back again. Right, now I'm going to go back to my folder and find, so as you see all my folders are done. 100 greatest rock hits, 50s, 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, best of dance. I've got big band, charts 2016, classic rock. Right, now I'm looking for copyright free music, and there you see it's loaded. Now unfortunately the music here is not all that good, but it will be good enough for demonstration purposes. Now if I touch the deck, you see the deck that's highlighted in orange, which is deck 2. If I change that to deck 1, it will use deck 1 to play the tune. In other words, you can monitor the tune using that deck. So if I tap on that, it's now playing that deck. Right, now if I load that, it'll give me the option to either load it on deck 2 or deck 1, or I can add it to a queue or playlist. So now I loaded that on deck 1, and if we go to deck 1, you will now see it is on deck 1. And if you have album art to go with it, it will also show that as well. And as you can see, you've got a crossfader. So I'm just moving now, deck 1 to deck 2. Okay. Right. So I can now play that. It's very responsive. Now I can pause it in the position it's in, And as you see, just below the display, which shows the name of the track, there's a progress bar in orange, just coming from the left. Now that moves to the right as it progresses. If you watch, see it moving? See it moving along? Now if you touch that, it will move it anywhere through the track. So I will touch it now. And you see the time has now changed to red, telling you it's running towards the end of the track, so it gives you a warning. Also gives you beats per minute, just on the bottom right section of the display there. Now that's the same on both decks. Now you can also select a track by just above the play and cue button there on the left. There are two arrow keys. If you press either one of those, if you have more tracks loaded into the waitlist, it will actually load the next track or go backwards. So you can actually you can play a track that you played before, because the tracks aren't actually removed from the waitlist as you play them. So if you load a track and then somebody come up and says to you, oh, could you play so and so, and you don't get time to play that particular track, you can go back to it. So that's quite a handy little feature to have. Also, as I say, on both decks, you have right down to the bottom now, we're looking at the bottom, you have a sync button here, which will sync both decks together. So if the tracks are within so many beats per minute, so like for instance deck 1 beats per minute were 129, and on deck 2 the track was a very similar beat but it was say 132 beats per minute, then if you hit the sync button, we'll set deck 2 to the same beats per minute as deck 1, and that works vice versa. So if you, depending on whether you do the left deck or the right deck, it will set the beats per minute. You've also got another feature where, for instance, if the tempo, now what I'll do is I'll play the track. Right, I've run out of track, let me go back. Right, let's start at the beginning. Now if I move the tempo, okay, if I press the reset tempo button, which is now, it will start to reset automatically on its own. So it's at the correct speed. So there you go, it's very smooth as well, and very responsive. There are a lot of other things that this piece of software can do. Just to demonstrate, we have a sampler, which I'm bringing down now. Now the only thing that with this, I would say you do have to put it up over the top of the deck, which I'm not very happy about. It would have been nice if you could move if you move the deck up a little bit, sorry, put that into 3D. If you move the deck up, sorry, take the lock off, it then gets in the way of your waveform, which is a bit of a pain. You can move this down. It could have done with being slightly thinner, I think, because it still gets in the way of the rest of the controls. I don't know, maybe I'm just being picky. Right, okay, yeah, so this is a sample, and you can run different samples. There are different packs. You have rise and drop, that's what that was, drum kit, 808, which is like a kick drum crash, so yeah, so the latency is not bad actually. Yeah, trouble is it does make my screen jump up because it thinks that I'm trying to zoom in. So yeah, that could be a bit of an issue, but you can turn that off. Yeah, so you've got essentials, which is police sirens, air horns, such like. You can run more than one sample together, so for instance you have police siren, so yeah, so there's various things you can use this for joining two records together. There would have to be a particular type of music, but yeah, so that's very responsive, works very well. Yeah, you also have an FX control panel as well, which again does the same thing, goes over the top of everything. That might be worth rethinking about, but for instance, we'll try flanger. Now the quality of the sound effects on this are very, very good. So if we run the piece of music, as soon as you take your finger off the effect, it stops. So for instance, if you're using echo, we'll bring it up. Yeah, so yeah, it's very effective. There are lots of different things on there. Band pass. I don't doubt they will probably add new things as well. We've got tremolo, vibrato. You've got a thing called cutter. So the other things I wanted to show you was that supposing you had a mix that you'd made yourself, and we'll just stop that for a minute. You'd made up a mix yourself on here, but it was in say 4 parts, and you wanted to maybe play the second or third part of that mix. You can set up cue points. So for instance, we'll say you can move the progress bar wherever you want and it will play, as you can see, the time counting down on the display there. So you can move the bar, it's very responsive, you can move it wherever you like. So we'll say you move it, say, to the first fade out of the first part of your mix. So once you've found it, now there are 4 buttons, 4 red, well they're red at the moment, hot cues they're called, 1 to 4. Now below that is 2 other buttons called set and delete. Make sure that they're not lit up. So This is the end part of your first mix, so you want to set a cue on there. You press hot cue 1, and it's now put a little line there with a little orange dot at the bottom of it, so if you can see that quite clearly. So then we find the next part of your mix. You find the fade out cue, set your next one, and your next one, which will cue 3, and we'll say there's a little short one at the end, and that's cue 4. Right, so now you can now start that from wherever you like. So for instance, if we move that back to there, and you've just loaded that track, we'll say, you can just start from, say, position 3, and there you go. So you can start your mix wherever you like. Now the beauty of this is it works very much like another bit of software called Virtual DJ, which I use on my desktop computer. It remembers the cues for that particular track. So if you unload that track, it will not lose the cue points, and I will demonstrate what I mean. So for instance, what we'll do is we'll load another track. So we'll just load this track straight onto the deck. Right, now you now see the cue points are gone, the track has changed, and we've got a different track. Excuse my coughing. Right, we can now stop that. Right, now what we'll do is we'll reload the original track using the little pips on deck 1, and it has now loaded the track back with the 4 cue points still on it, so it will remember it. It'll even remember it if you come out of the app, which is absolutely excellent, and you can do this to as many tracks as you like. So if you've made up your own mixes and you know they're in 4 or 5 parts, providing you make a little list of what were on that, in other words, if you write on a bit of paper what the names of the tracks were on that particular mix you made, what, you know, hot cue 1 was and what hot cue 2 was, then it's perfect. So if you've set up a list for the night, that's absolutely perfect. So, you know, so you can set up, say, we'll do number 2, and it goes straight to it. Very useful function, works very well. Right, so, okay, we'll stop that there. And it goes back to the start of that cue. So, again, quite useful. Right, what we'll do is we'll load another track. Now, as soon as I touch that, the track starts playing. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do that on a live gig because you don't want other people to hear it. So, what we'll do is we'll load it up, load it on deck. Okay, we'll stop it there for a minute. Right, okay. Now, you've also got cue and review. So, you can review a track while you're listening through headphones, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So you can move it in. Quite responsive. Now the only thing I would say about that, it would be nice if you could alter how much it moves into the record in relation to the way you're moving it with your finger. That would be quite a good thing. So, developer, if you're watching this video, it might be worth something to look at, so maybe in a future update or something. Also, if you were playing a track, you have tempo control, which I'm going to move now. Right, but it also has tempo reset, which is at the bottom of this deck. At the bottom it says tempo. I'll just reset it automatically. And it comes up to the correct speed. Right, let's just stop that. Right, okay. Now, obviously you can mix from deck to deck. So I shall operate the crossfader there. As you can see, it's very responsive. You also have auto fade, which I'll show you in a moment. So if you're playing this deck, right, we'll bring it to... So you can do a manual mix. Okay, so that's the manual mix. You can do that from deck 1 to deck 2, from deck 2 to deck 1. You have a graphic equalizer, which has 10 bands per deck, so they're all individual. I've got this set up for full bass at the moment and full treble, but you can program each one, and there's all these presets. There's a lot there. And by getting used to the way they work, you can decide what you want to use at a time. Same as on this one. So each one does that. And you just tap it and it will neatly go away, nice and smoothly. Okay, what else can I tell you about? Yeah, you can mix from one deck to another just by a tap of a button. So you have these 3 buttons above. Just tapped it. Right, I'll stop that in a minute. Right, okay, you have a button there. There are 3 buttons above the crossfader, which I'm moving around now. One is play, and then you have 2 arrow keys. And if you press 1, it will mix from deck 2 to deck 1. If you press the other way, it will go from deck 1 to deck 2. So it's an instant button press. So if this one is playing, and you press this one, it does it all on its own. So that's sort of like semi-auto mix, if you like. It does have a full auto mix, which I shall demonstrate. Okay, so at the moment the auto fade is off. Right, the auto fade is now on. And now if we do the crossfade, what I shall do is I shall load some background music, copyright free, like that, and you can split it up between the 2 like that. Okay, right, now what we'll do is we'll bring that to the end. It will automatically mix across in a moment when it reaches the last 3 seconds of the track. There you go. And it also loads the next track on the other deck automatically. which happens to be just a sound sample, but it'll do for the demonstration. I'll move it forward a bit. Anyway, it gives you an idea of what it's capable of anyway. Yeah, so that's with the full auto fade on. You have individual volume controls for each deck, left deck and right deck, or deck 1, deck 2, which you can adjust, and it gives you the percentage on both. You have a master volume control, so if I play the deck, just by moving your finger, so yeah, that's very good. You also have gain controls slightly above that. It does the same thing. You can set up the gain. So it's easy to set back at 100%. Also, the VU meters, they work very well, or LED meters. They are extremely accurate, and they do work. So if you go too much into the red, it will distort. So you can actually use those to gauge the volume of the record that you're mixing. So that's quite good. Also, you have, I'll just stop there a minute. Right, also, just above the play and cue button on the deck 1, it's the same on deck 2, you have 2 arrow keys. That will load the deck, that will load the tracks that you had on the deck before, and the more you press it, it will load the next track. So if you have, say, a group of tracks waiting in your wait list, which I shall bring up right now, so all the tracks in this wait list, this is deck 1, this is deck 2, so they have an individual wait list, which is absolutely fantastic. So if we go back, it will load each track in turn. So right, it's alright, I had it on auto fade, so it automatically did it. Must remember to turn it off. Right, okay. Move the slider across and put it on. It's very responsive, very instant. So, right, it's gone all through them. So, yeah, it depends on where it was on the list at the time. And so you can go backwards as well. I'll just show you that. So yeah, it's very responsive, and there doesn't appear to be any lag in it at all. So it works very well on this Lenovo tablet. As I say, it's got 2 gig of RAM, this tablet, and it handles this bit of software no problem at all, and there doesn't appear to be any lags. It doesn't crash. So if any of you out there are having problems, it might be your device that's causing the problem, not the software. So before you start complaining, I would look at your device and make sure that you're not running a load of apps in the background. Make sure that the cache is completely clear. So I don't know what else I can tell you about it really. The next video I am going to show you how to wire up the special lead that you'll need to be able to connect this to an external mixer. So I hope you'll join me on that. I'm going to play you a few tracks out now just to finish off. So what I shall do is, let me think now. Let's do a bit of classic rock and roll, and I can only do minute parts of this, 10 seconds at tops, otherwise YouTube will flag me. So as you can see, I've got decks 1 and 2 selected, and if I press play all add queue, it will select all the records in this list and split them up between the 2 decks so that I can mix between them. So I shall do that right now.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock. So listen to my baby diamond ring.
As I say, I shall be back in the next video, so join me, and I will show you how to connect this up to a full-blown mixer. That was the one thing I was going to tell you about before I go. It gives you the option of a pre-queuing. Now the only thing is, it splits the channels up, so one of the channels becomes a mono channel for both decks if you wish to play this out to, say, a mixer. But it means you can queue like you would on a normal DJ system. You can actually queue up the deck and listen through a set of headphones, which, believe me, it is useful. That is a useful function. So it gives you the different options. You can either master left channel and phones on the right, but the mono requires DC split cable. You can do the opposite, headphones on the left and master on the right. Again, it needs a DJ split cable. I will show you how to make one. Or you can go out to a mixer, which is left channel on the left deck and the right channel on the right deck, and but it means that you will have to split them so they come out in full mono on both speakers. But I will show you how to make that lead. Okay, so just cancel that, because at the moment it's just playing in normal stereo. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this review, say, tutorial. Oh yeah, there was one other function. Somebody said that they had a problem. What I'll do is, it has a record function, which is now recording right this very moment, and it allows you to record your mixes. So in other words, if you were, say, playing a deck, the arrow is indicating right. Okay, so stop that. Right, it then gives you a chance to rename your track. So the storage is emulated DJ disc recordings. Alright, so you'll be able to find it to play it back. So in other words, you could say, wipe that out and put in your mix. So we'll call that DJ Bass Test. Okay, so just press your down arrow so it moves it out of the way, and then you can either delete it or you can OK it, which means it's now saved it as an M4A. Okay, you can then share it if you wish to. It then gives you the option to share it, so you can save it to wherever you want. You can send it as an email, providing it doesn't go over, I think it's 25 meg in length. You can send it by Bluetooth to somebody else's device, or you can save it to a drive in the cloud. Okay, so but also it's saved on your system, so you can play it anytime you like. Alright, right, so anyway, I'm going to stop right here because we can go on forever about this. See you in the next video, and I will explain more. So please leave a like if you enjoyed this video. I know it's gone on a bit. Please leave a like, and please join my channel for more videos. So take care until next time. Take it easy. Bye bye.